I first want to begin with a Yashikoyach to Reb Zevi on all the Shiurim, all the different Chaburis and Shiurim. A special Yashikoyach for the Thursday nights, this Isafa that's going on already for a few months, the food that comes with it, and I'm also Makatoiv that I have the opportunity to be able to share with the Olam. This week's Parshas Vayakhel, the Torah Kedosha begins with Shabbos. Vayakhel Moshe Rabbeinu gathered Kollel Yisrael and told Kollel Yisrael Shabbos. Dabar b'nei called as b'nei Yisrael Sheishis Yom, you work, and then goes Shabbos. And then afterwards, the Psukim Vayta goes about the Binyan HaMishkan. So Rashi says, what's the Seder first Shabbos, and then afterwards Binyan HaMishkan? Says Rashi, Loi Malach, that between the two, Shabbos and the Mishkan, the Seder is first Shabbos and then the Mishkan. Dahainu, that Binyan Beis HaMikdash, Binyan of the Mishkan, is not Doiche Shabbos. Shabbos is first. You have two things. You have Shabbos and Mishkan. Shabbos comes first. That's what Rashi says over here to explain the Seder HaPsukim. Where did Moshe Rabbeinu know this? That the Mishkan is not Doiche, Binyan HaMishkan is not Doiche Shabbos. So the emes is that Moshe Rabbeinu got the tzivah in last week's parsha. The pasuk over there, it's actually the other way around. First speaking about Dabar Shem Moshe Karasi B'Shem B'Tzal building the Mishkan, and then afterwards goes the psukim later on in the parsha, the psukim of Shabbos. Va'ata Dabar B'nei Yisrael Leimer Achesh Absoisei Tishmoiru. So where do you see over there that the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu that the Mishkan is not Doiche Shabbos? So Rashi explains, Achesh Absoisei Tishmoiru, Arfal Pishatir Redufen Vizrizim Samalach, even though you're working on building the Mishkan, still Shabbos al Titchem Paneo, it's not Doiche Shabbos. So Rashi explains, how do we know it from Ach? Kol Achen V'Rakin Mu'utin, it's a miyut. It says Ach, Achesh Absoisei Tishmoiru, miyut. So the miyut is, Zakt Rashi, the drasha miyut, like you find in other places, Yishalmi, the Gemara, Lamayit, what's the miyut? That Shabbos doesn't get pushed away with the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, with the Mishkan. Yeah, that's the Ach. As is Zakt Rashi. So we have so far is very clear, Shabbos does not get pushed away by Binyan HaMishkan. Binyan HaMishkan is not Doiche Shabbos. Frek the Ramban, the miyut of Ach is what we're talking about. What are we talking about? We're talking about Shabbos. The Torah says, Shmira Shabbos, of them there's a drasha Ach to be mamayit. The way Rashi is understanding, it's not a miyut on Shabbos, it's a miyut in Binyan HaMishkan. If anything, because it's a miyut by Shabbos, I would say mamash punkt verkehrt, says the Ramban, that the Ach is a miyut on Shabbos, to mamayit Shabbos, that Shabbos is not applicable for the Binyan HaMishkan. Mamash the opposite around. As I frek the Ramban on Rashi. And the Ramban Taka says that Ach is Taka miyut of Shabbos. The Hainu, what's the miyut by Shabbos? It's a miyut that sometimes Shabbos is not applicable. Not a miyut in building the Mishkan, it's a miyut in Shabbos. Where is it that Shabbos is not applicable? L'mashal Mila, Pekuach Nefesh. Mila is Doiche Shabbos, the 8th day. Pekuach Nefesh is Doiche Shabbos. So the miyut of Ach is actually a miyut on Shabbos. Don't keep Shabbos b'chahai gavna of Mila and Pekuach Nefesh. But where do you know Taka? How does like the Ramban? How do you Taka know that Binyan HaMishkan is not Doiche Shabbos? Where do you Taka know this? No, Zok the Ramban. Be'etzem, why is Bechlal the Eibishter bringing in over here about Shmira Shabbos? We know it already from Parshas Yisroi. There's a few psukim in the Aseres HaDibros speaking about Shmira Shabbos. Why is it a gay over here to comment that Shmira Shabbos? Now the teretz is to say this. Avad, I'm giving you a tzivah of building the Mishkan. However, don't forget about Shabbos. Shabbos is more important. Shabbos does not get pushed away b'mokum you have to build a Mishkan. So it's not really a drasha. It's Bechlal. How did these psukim Bechlal come in of Shmir Shabbos in the middle of the Mishkan? The teretz is you have to keep Shabbos even to build a Mishkan. So we have so far very clearly. Rashi says, you know how I know this Yisoid, that it's not doichesh, that Binyan HaMishkan is not doichesh Shabbos from Ach, a Miyat. Frekter Ramban, if it's a Miyat in Shabbos, that it would be doiche. And Mela, the Ramban has a different way to learn. The Ramban learns, Parshas, well, how does Shabbos come in? The teretz is Shabbos comes in to say that keep Shabbos even when you're building the Mishkan. Lamaisa, so what's taken the pshat in Rashi? L'chayr, the Rabban asks a gewaldige kasha on Rashi. If it's a miyat, l'chayr, it's the other way around. It's a miyat that you should do it on Shabbos. It's a miyat in Shabbos. So there's a few terutzim. The first teretz, the Panim Yafis, the Bala Flaw. He says like this: the miyat, it's taka miyat in Shabbos. What malachas are you not allowed to do in Shabbos? You're not allowed to do the malachas HaMishkan. The lamatas malachas, like the Gemara in Shabbos says, they were, whatever malacha they did in the Mishkan, that's what you're not allowed to do Shabbos. However, any other, let's call it malacha that's not from the lamatas malachas, is mutter. To bring it out, to illustrate it, to carry a needle into the Rosh Hashanah, as I saw as one of the lamatas malachas, but to carry a couch from the first floor to the 8th floor on Shabbos is not the lamatas malachas. It's a malacha, it's a moiridig, it's hard. We learned today in the Kollel about doing it chalamoid, but mitzad the lamatas malachas, it's not included. So ach is taka a miyut, but it's not a miyut. The miyut in Shabbos is that what malachas of Shabbos, the malachas of the Mishkan, but not any other malacha. It is, however, shver that, how does that go into the words of Rashi? Rashi says the achta miyat is a gabi malachas mishkan, but that's what he says to be miyashiv, what the miyat is in Shabbos itself. The Shemesh Shmuel says a different teretz, and he brings rayas and rayas. Avada ach is a miyat, but it depends the ach in the content, in the context of where it's sitting. Is it a miyat? Or what it's coming to say is it's a condition. By B'nai Slavchad, Ach l'mishpachas mati aviyem. It's not a miyat, because fakert. Dafka l'mishpachas aviyem. Many rayas he brings. But he says that pshat is that it's a condition. Over here, it's not the pshat is by Shabbos that it's being memayit something from Shabbos. It's a condition. Build the Beis HaMikdash, the Mishkan, but a condition, the condition of not do it, but on the condition of not being Mechal Shabbos. A condition. It's a shtickle b'doimet to the Ramban, but the same idea that it's not being Memayit something in Shabbos. A third teretz, but be'etzem, to understand this teretz, this is a teretz of the Chedusharim, but to understand this teretz, I want to be makdim the kasha of the Meshech Chochma. The Meshech Chochma asks, we're spending here a couple of minutes explaining why is it, how do you know that it's not Doiche Shabbos, that building the Mishkan is not Doiche Shabbos? Frek the Meshech Chochma, why tak is it not Doiche Shabbos? Why is it not Doiche Shabbos? You know, avoid in the Beis HaMikdash, Shchita is Doiche Shabbos. It's not like, it's just like, avoid in the Mishkan is Doiche Shabbos, so why shouldn't building the Mishkan be Doiche Shabbos as well also? As they frek the Meshech Chochma. So the Meshech Chochma says the reason why it's not Doiche Shabbos is because there's a difference between who wants these Ashrois HaShchina, whatever avoidi you do, says the Meshech Chochma, is Doiche Shabbos. Once the Mishkan is here in these Ashrois HaShchina, Avatar avoid is Doiche Shabbos. Shchita, Doiche Shabbos, different avodas, Doiche Shabbos. Masha ein kein, while you're building the Mishkan, during building the Mishkan, there's no Ashras HaShchina yet. That's why it's not Doiche Shabbos. Says the Meshech Chochma, with this, I want to be meyashiv the Sefer Chasidim's Kasha. In our parsha, the parsha begins with Shabbos and then Mishkan. Loi Malach, that Shabbos comes before. If you go back to Parshas Kisisa, first is the tzivui on the Mishkan, and then afterward Shabbos. So why is in our parsha Shabbos first, and over there the Mishkan first? Zok the Meshech Chachma. In the beginning of Parshas Kisisa, it's before the Chet Egel. Before the Chet Egel, there was Ashras Hashchina even without the Mishkan. Memela, Oibazoi, Taka Binyan HaMishkan would be Doiche Shabbos. But only after the Chet Egel that there's no more Ashras Hashchina, only with the Mishkan. Memela, you have to build the Mishkan. Building the Mishkan, there's no Ashras Hashchina yet. That's why it's not Doiche Shabbos. Okay, this is the Meshech Chachma. But Zok the Chedusharim is a separate shtickle, but just to understand that, that's why I brought the Meshech Chachma, but the Meshech Chachma is a shtickle for itself. But it says the Memele Zok the Chedusharim like this. What did we ask? What was the kasha? The Ramban's kasha was that Ach is a miyat on Shabbos. Ach is a miyat on Shabbos. If it's a miyat on Shabbos, it should say yes. Don't keep Shabbos. That's what a miyat is in a certain case, like Mila b'Shabbos or Pekuach Nefesh. Zakta Chedusharim, it's taka mamayit. You know where it's mamayit? Avoida. Ach, to be mamayit, that avoida you taka do on Shabbos. There's no Shabbos, lagabi avoida. Building the Mishkan, that taka Shabbos doesn't get pushed away, but avoida is doicha Shabbos. So what was the Ramban's kasha? Ach is a miyat. It's taka miyat. It's mamayit Shabbos. The hainu legabi avoid. There is no Shabbos.
Where's the makar then? Same kasha as in the close. Where's the makar though?
The makar that what? That it's not doicha Shabbos. That it's not doicha Shabbos. So the emes is it's a good kasha. Where's the makar? And be'etzem in the Ramban also you have the kasha. It's not a drasha. The Ramban just says why are we saying Shabbos loy malach. And even like the other terutzim also that we said, there's no drasha. Maybe it's not as shver, because in the Rabban Lamaisa, why does Bechlal Shabbos come in? Loy malach. Just to conclude, and the emes is that this meduber that I'm going to say now really is mamash a shiur for itself, but just to at least touch on the topic, we just spoke now for a few minutes that Shmira Shabbos doesn't get pushed away with building the Mishkan. What would be the Havamina that it would be doicha? Why should it be doicha? You need a drasha, or how the Ramban says, or the Miyashav Rashi to say that it's not doicha. What would be the Havamina Bechlal that it's doicha? The Teretz is Parshat Avada. That the Pshat is building the Mishkan is a mitzvah asay deraisa. It's a mitzvah asay. And Shmira Shabbos is a loisesa. It's esa doicha loisesa. So be'etzem is a klal. The whole sugi at the beginning of Yivam is esa doicha loisesa. So mainly you have to have over here a drasha, a gilui, that here is different, and you don't say asay doicha loisesa. Just for mamish, a brief moments, a few minutes, very brief, these klolim in esa doicha loisesa. These klolim, we could speak by Riches God on these many terutzim, but I just want to touch upon it. V'ten l'chochem v'yosev lekach, to speak later tonight over Shabbos. Number one, these yesod that asay doicha loisesa is only when it's be'idna. When it's during, what does be'idna mean? A person could wear tzitzis that's made out of shatnez. It's a lav to wear shatnez. But you could wear tzitzis yimakayim asay, but be'idna, which means while you're wearing the tzitzis, you makayim asay, you can be mevatel, you can be over on a loisesa. Another example would be mila, to do a bris mila, and these are tzaras. Lamaisa, it's not, these are separate limud, but be'etzem, cutting off a tzaras, which is a lav, while doing bris mila, asay, that's be'idna. If it's not be'idna, it's not doicha. If you do the mitzvah today and tomorrow, afakert, you're over the lav today and tomorrow you makayim the mitzvah, it's not doicha, a klal. So the shaila is over here, you're building the Mishkan through Shabbos. The mitzvah of building the Mishkan is to have a Mishkan. throughout is Parshas the Hechsher mitzvah till you get to it. So what would be the tzad that it's doicha Shabbos? It's not beidna. It's not beidna. What'd say? Or be'etzem what you're saying is, you'll finish it. Maybe takat's negay, the ending off. But the teretz is bedoimit, maybe a shtickle bedoimit, the lagabe the kalim, it's negay. There's a mitzvah to build a kalim. What lav is there? What chil Shabbos are making the kalim? Makab patish. What do you say? What? Fire. Yeah. But kalim the marshal. Okay, so fire taka we won't have that teretz because fire taka could take a long time. But al kapanim, if the issa would be makab patish, which means just finishing the keli, that's the issa Shabbos, and the mitzvah also comes at the same time, so it's be'edna. Good, you can speak more. A lot more to speak about more. But I say another nekud is also you only say asay doicha when it's not efshel akayim shneim. If you could be'etzem be makayim the asay and the loisesa, then you don't have a right. A be to do the asay and over the lav. If you could figure out how to do both, you have to do both. So be'etzem, so why should it be doicha Shabbos? Why can you push it off till tomorrow? Why can you push it off till tomorrow? You're building 7 days a week, build 6 days a week, and Shabbos you won't build. You can push it off. So I'm just saying mamash bakitza, but it's a whole shtickle stiple. He makes some achleikis rishonim, toisis, and the Rashba. But the yesod, the punchline is that it's not efshel amacher, because be'etzem, if you build the Beis Hamikdash today, this Shabbos and next Shabbos, it's going to be ready earlier. So there's a mitzvah. Every minute that you have the Beis Hamikdash, you have a mitzvah. So be'etzem, you should. It's not called you can wait till tomorrow. If you're going to wait till tomorrow, the Beis Hamikdash is going to be ready only a day or 2 or 3 later, and that is not called that you efshel akayim shneim. Lastly, one more shaila. I've added a few more, but l'chayr it's a loises sheyesh beikaris. So in Eina say doicha loises sheyesh beikaris. If this the Aruch LaNer says also a big arichas, but he says this whole meduber over here is a ro'asha, and merely you would think that the ro'asha should override even yesh beikaris, just to be goimer. We should be zoichataka to the binyan Beis Hamikdash from Heri Yameinu.